Hello, everyone. This is Millie Bangz, and usually Boom does these, but I get the honor to do this one. And I am here with Jordan Will from Peach Street Revival, among many other things that she does in her life. And yeah, for those of you who don't know Jordan, you're gonna get to know her a little bit tonight. For those of you who do, you're gonna get to know her a little bit better. So.
Oh, it's an honor to be interviewed by you, Miss Millie.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you. So, I guess tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How did the life of Jordan begin?
I have been in Colorado since 2003. Prior to that, I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was born in Bismarck, North Dakota. So it was cold, hot, and then both.
In between.
Yeah. I lived in Montrose before I moved here to Grand Junction for college, and once I came up here, it kind of just never left.
Okay.
Yeah, came up here for school. I was doing music business, so I was already kind of immersed in the music community here, and that's really what got my foot in the door with some bands outside of school and led to Peach Street Revival, among, the things that I've done previously to Peach Street Revival. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you grew up in Montrose.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a culture shock going from big city Phoenix, where you can't really walk down the street by yourself, and there's like kidnappings here and there and stuff, and then you move to small town Montrose and it's completely different, Yeah, it was kind of a culture shock for a while, but I got used to it, so yeah, I like it here a lot.
Yeah. So growing up, what was music like in your life growing up?
The standard piano lessons as a child, and I kind of resented them at the time, of course, but I do appreciate them now that I'm older.
Sure.
And I kind of just wanted to do more and more, so my dad took me to a Christian rock concert when I was about 7, and he played guitar at the time.
Okay.
So when I came home, I was like, give me that guitar. I'm like, I could do this. And I started, playing around a little bit, and I was like, yeah, this is easy. I could do that. Little did I know it was not, in fact, easy. So guitar was next, and then middle school came around, and I played clarinet, and then saxophone, and then it snowballed from there into flute. I did saxophone, I started playing drums, guitar, bass, keys, kind of just, I don't know if it was because I was never satisfied with what I was doing, but I discovered that I had the ability to play these other instruments, so I just kept adding them to the list.
Yeah. What led you to just pick up the other instruments? Was it curiosity? Was it just sort of proving to yourself that you could do it?
That's a good question. I don't know if it was one thing in particular that made me want to play other instruments, but I knew I wouldn't I knew I wanted to be a rock star from a pretty young age. Yeah, so I knew clarinet wasn't going to get me there.
No, not so much.
So that's why I was happy playing the instruments I was playing, but I always just wanted to do more, I suppose.
Yeah, just keep growing, keep expanding.
Yeah.
The challenge.
Yeah.
The challenge of learning something new.
Exactly. And a lot of them translated well to the others. So for example, saxophone was easy to pick up because of clarinet,
Sure.
Flute was easy to pick up because of saxophone, bass was easy to pick up because of guitar, percussion was percussion.
Yeah.
And drums is pretty self-explanatory, but
Sure.
yeah.
What's your favorite instrument? Do you have a favorite?
The one I play the most frequently obviously is the bass guitar, but I
Right.
think my favorite instrument I've ever played had to be drums.
Yeah.
I did a lot of percussion, but drums is just the most fun. I feel like it keeps you the most busy.
Sure.
It's not the most practical to haul around everywhere, so
Right. You can't just pack it
this
in your
is
backpack.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, with drums you really do just have that freedom. I mean, it's very physical. It's definitely much more physical than the rest of the instruments.
One of the most notable challenges, aside from marching band, I did percussion, drumline, and marching band, but for the pep band that they do for basketball, for example, I did drums for a semester in college for the pep band. And there's no drum line, you're not just playing one drum at a time, you're playing the entire kit. And I remember it was the last game during the awards ceremony, and they were announcing everyone, and they were giving awards and stuff, and I had to drum for 30 minutes straight for this thing.
Damn.
Yeah, and by the end I just kept looking at my instructor I'm about to pass out, but alright, we'll keep doing it. And that was that was one of the most fun moments, like being the only person playing in this entire gym full of people, but for like half an hour. Yeah, that was
Wow.
one of the highlights, I think.
Super highlight. I mean, that's, talk about just kind of, you have the power in that
Yeah.
moment. Like, you hold the music
Yeah,
right there.
no pressure. Yeah.
Right, yeah, none at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you want to be a rock star from an early age?
Yeah,
Okay.
my mom listened to kind of like modern rock, and this was around the time Evanescence got signed and released their first signed record, Fallen. They had some pre-signed material, but Fallen was the first Evanescence record that I ever had my hand on. When I saw this chick just giving it her all on stage, and the costumes and the power and the rock and roll and the distortion and everything, it was like, I want to do that.
You were hooked.
That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I was always influenced by really powerful women in rock. So I was a Heart fan. Like my parents loved the classic rock, so Heart was one of them. Joan Jett was another one of them. Yeah, just her unapologetic, you know, I love rock and roll.
Oh yeah, she's just there. She's gritty, she's raw, she's getting it.
Yeah, so it was women like that were really like, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to play these arpeggios on clarinet for the rest of my life.
Yeah, your spirit needed a little more than that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No,
but
no, it has
path.
its place.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right, okay. Yeah. So what were you listening to, like, in high school? What were you listening to?
A lot of alternate rock, a little bit of metal. I didn't really get into metal until college, which led me to the punk metal band I was in, but I listened to a lot of alternative rock and really like that kind of, I listen to a lot of sad music, but I'm not a sad person. But, you know, I like the rah-rah vocals and the power and the intensity and just the fast stuff. And yeah.
It just speaks to you, definitely. And I think sometimes happy people need to listen to sad stuff to sort of balance it out a little bit.
Yeah,
exactly. It's necessary. Okay, so that's kind of your path from just starting on the piano, typical piano lessons, moving through all these instruments, challenging yourself, pushing, and then eventually landing in Grand Junction and were you in bands in high school other than like marching band and pep band? Or?
I was, yeah. So I did a lot of time on the stage at church. Okay. So I started playing keys at church, and as soon as I started picking up other instruments, I think drums came first, so I was rotating keys and drums, and then I picked up the bass, so I would do 3 out of the 4 weeks, like keys, drums, bass, or bass, keys, like just kind of rotating through the instruments. So that was my first stage experience, was at church, which was pretty awesome. It was a completely different experience than being in church, like being on the stage.
Yeah, so, I bet.
That was really moving to me to be the catalyst for people, like, to worship. Like when I was on stage, I was like, wow, this is like really different. And then my senior year of high school, I started a jazz combo with a friend of mine named Oren. Yeah, so we had a couple gigs here and there, you know, coffee shops. We did like Two Rascals Brewery one night. We did some Christmas parties and stuff like that. And we're just 2 kids, like, calling people up, like, hey, we have this jazz combo. We'd love to play for you. Yeah, you know, we got free food here and there. Like,
hell yeah.
Made a little bit of money here and there, but, you know,
just
nothing.
Experience.
Yeah, it was pretty different trying to book your own shows when you're 17.
Oh,
and you're
wow.
just like, it was...
cutting your teeth on
Yeah, so that was where the performing started, like outside of a school setting, like pedaling the pavement, if you will. Yeah.
What were you playing in the jazz combo?
Drums.
Drums.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys just went out, kind of did your thing.
Yeah, we rounded up a couple kids we went to school with. We had a couple brass players. He was on tenor sax. I played drums. We had a key player, and we had a bassist too. So yeah, a couple of us just roaming around doing. We did like a wine and cheese festival, but for us it was just a cheese festival.
Couldn't drink the wine.
Yeah, we were all teenagers, but yeah. So that was just around Montrose. We never branched out too far from there.
Okay, and so then came to Junction for college, and you said music business?
Yeah, so I had, at that time, never had any formal training in drums. It was something I had picked up on my own. My dad bought me the school's old drum kit when they upgraded theirs. Oh, wow. So that was my second drum set. My first drum set was the electronic drums because my parents weren't ready to take on that challenge of an acoustic drum set in the house. But yeah, I decided that I didn't want to play saxophone anymore full time. I had been recruited to play the bari sax at Mesa.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I wanted to do drums instead. So I showed up to my audition with absolutely no percussion training. I had to do a timpani piece, I had to do a mallet piece, and I had to do a drum kit piece. And I was honest with them. I was like, hey guys, I've never done this before, but here you go. Because I already played piano. You know, mallets are basically a piano that you hit. So it worked out pretty well, and they accepted me into the percussion program. So I did that program for 2.5 years before branching out, changing my major a couple times, and eventually just started playing full-time with the bands that I had picked up while I was in school, because I met some people who were in bands and started playing with them, and school was, I'm grateful for it, for the things that it taught me, but when you're being graded on your art, it's not fun anymore, and it kind of kills that passion. So as soon as I had the freedom to play how I wanted to play what I wanted to play, I definitely preferred that over like, okay, well, I'm about to get tested and I gotta do this and that and so many hours of this and so many performances of this. It just kills your passion.
Totally, yeah. It just becomes, it's not spontaneous, it's not from your spirit, it's from a more like intellectual and obligatory place.
And I had some great experiences in school, like don't get me wrong, playing with those ensembles was so powerful. My freshman year of college was the first year that they had a marching band at CMU, so to be part of that as it was growing was really cool as well. Percussion ensemble was awesome. The orchestra performances were great. I don't know why they always had trouble getting percussionists to do it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I was all about it. Those Christmas concerts were the best. So I had some really good experiences, but eventually it just got to the point where I wasn't really having fun with it anymore, and I wasn't really inspired like I usually was, like what got me into music for the first place. So it was time
to move on. Yeah. So we'll get to that in a minute, but just one question that just kind of struck me was how you said your dad was a musician. How were your parents through all this? Like, were they pretty supportive of you musically through the years, and kind of what role did they play in all that?
Yeah, I'm very grateful to them for the role that they played in my musical upbringing. My dad played guitar at the church. And my mom, she sang, once we moved to Colorado, she was singing at the church too. The clarinet that I still have that I played all through middle school is also hers. They bought me my saxophone when I wanted to do that. They got me my drum kit. They got me my first bass. Like anything that I was like, I want to do this, they're like, okay, you know. Because I mean, it's easy for, I feel like, the youth to take one wrong turn and end up in a bad place. So having an outlet to ensure that I stayed on the right path and I had an outlet for like my emotions and I had something to keep me focused, definitely put me on the right path to success. Yeah,
it really gave you a focus, something to do other than roaming around.
There was only one time that my dad asked me to stop playing
drums.
Yeah, I was
What's that story?
I was just in my room going at it, and he had sent me a text message like, please stop. And I thought he was kidding. I
love it.
Like, I thought it was a joke at first, so I was like, yeah, whatever. And then he came into the room, he was like, no, I'm serious. I was like, all right. But for the most part, yeah, they just let me
do it. Yeah. Wow. How special that they just really recognized what it meant to you and just super nurtured that for you.
They definitely did. Yeah, it was great to be in the environment where I had access to to get the instruments that I was playing and to be able to drum for hours and hours, and they would just let me.
Not many parents would put up with that. I remember when my sister started playing the trumpet, and it was like, you know, my parents were just like, all right, you get 30 minutes a day to do this, and that's it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Those middle school trumpeters are
right.
different breed.
Pretty terrible. Yeah. You said it was kind of like an emotional outlet for you. Say a little bit more about that.
I am clearly different. I tried to fit in. You know, when you're young, you see your peers acting a certain way, dressing a certain way, doing certain things, and I definitely tried that for a while. B team, volleyball, basketball team, all of it, like B team all the way. Athletics were not my forte. So I recognized that I was different, and coming to terms with that was a difficult time in my life because I didn't have anyone who was like me to really look up to or anything. I was, you know, involved in the church a lot, and some of my life paths were different than some of the people I went to church with would have preferred to see. So it was tough to be in an environment where I'm experiencing these feelings and these thoughts, and I have no outlet for them. So it was nice to have an avenue where, it doesn't matter what I'm feeling or like what walk of life I'm taking, like, it's music. It doesn't cater to any type of person in particular. It's anyone can do it.
It's so unconditional. Yeah. And it's just a beautiful way to just channel all of that, because I'm sure there had to have just been so much conflict just between, like, this is who the world wants me to be and expects me to be, and especially in a church setting on top of all of that, and then, like, this is who I really am, but I have no way to, just really express that and be, like, really seen, really felt, really heard.
Yeah.
But music is a way to music is, it's the universal language, and
it's a great escape, too, when you're feeling like you're trapped and you can't go anywhere. The music just takes you places that you never be able to go.
Definitely, and it's like that direct channel from just your spirit out into wherever. So it's like the ultimate release.
Exactly.
Wow, Jordan, I'm so glad you had music to guide you just through that part of your life.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't without conflict.
Sure.
But I feel like without it, I would have been a very different person, and not necessarily for the better.
Yeah. It was your savior. It was your angel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so now we get to college in Grand Junction. Was that a period where you could be more just kind of who you really felt like you are?
That was the reckoning.
Okay.
I came into about 15 is when I started really trying to figure out, like, who I was, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to dress, the things that I wanted to do. But yeah, when I got to college, it was a whole new type of freedom. I mean, obviously I was really constrained with, like, the school schedule, and I got a job as well. So, but the freedom to just be who I wanted to be and not have to answer to anyone was life-changing, honestly. So I definitely came into myself around age 18 and, really developed that and was able to get comfortable with who I am and dress how I want and do what I want and not answer to anyone, really. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
Did you have, like, a guide or a mentor through that process, or was it really just you kind of going through it on your own, exploring, experimenting?
I would say that I'm definitely a nomad. Like, I had friends, but in terms of figuring out who I was and coming to terms with how I felt and, being gay, for example, I didn't have many people to look up to. I had, girlfriends in high school or whatever, but I didn't have anyone who was older than me to kind of guide me through the experience of, like, coming out and being comfortable with myself and stuff like that. So I was very much in the closet through high school. I mean, even when I was, experimenting, dating, whatever you want to call it, I was definitely,
It was very hidden, very secretive. Yeah. When did you actually kind of, like, officially come out? Like, what was that process like for you?
Well, a couple of my friends knew in high school, but I was very, besides the band, like, I really kept to myself a lot. Like, I had some really good friends, but not very many of them. Like, I just kept my circle really small, and several of them knew. But whenever I was, like, officially out, I would say about 19 is when I came out to my parents officially, like, without the exception of a couple times in high school that was like, But yeah, around age 19 is when, the world became my oyster.
You stepped forward and never looked back.
For sure.
How did things change for you after that? Like, what was the shift?
Just not having to hide and not having to, like, pretend to be straight around my family. That was the hardest thing, is around certain people, like, pretending not to have these feelings. It's not like I was, walking around, like, being explicit.
Right.
But not having to hide that part of myself, like, actively suppress it was just completely changed, like, my mental health and my well-being and everything. It was very different from growing up, like, having to be closeted.
Right. Yeah, because, I mean, sexuality is just such a huge part of who we are as people. I mean, it's not something you can just sort of say, like, okay, I'm just gonna not think about this part and kind of put it on the shelf for a while. I mean, it just...
You'll be miserable.
Yeah, it colors everything. So, wow, what a gift to be able to just be in college. Here it is. This is who I am.
Yeah.
everybody took it pretty well, it sounds like.
And I had some really good friends. Like my close friends were very supportive, so
Awesome.
I'm very grateful to them
Yeah.
for letting me be myself and not having to like hide that part. And it definitely helped the process along the way when I wasn't fully out and I had people that I didn't have to hide around. It was cathartic.
I'm sure just being able to be like, okay, whew, I can take the mask off, you know, I can, because it's exhausting holding a mask and just, you know, having to be one way to the world. You don't realize just the toll that takes on you.
Especially as a young person when you don't have anyone to guide you through that part of your life.
Oh, I can't even imagine, Jordan. Yeah. Yeah, but you made it through beautifully, wonderfully, and
thank you.
Here you are today, just shining completely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
When we shine together.
That's right. So in college, you kind of got away from sort of the academic world and got into all these other bands. Tell me more about that. Like, what were some of the projects you were involved in?
My first band in college, outside of the school setting, was a punk metal band called Deep Purple Rain.
Nice.
And I was in it. I had a friend. He was in the same like classes as me, and he played guitar. His name was Gary. And I think he already had this project going with a couple other people, and he recruited me to play bass. And I don't remember how it got out that I played bass, but I ended up playing bass with them, and it was a lot of fun. I had never been in a punk rock band up until that point, so it was just so, like I said, Joan Jett earlier, like unapologetic.
Right.
Like, here we are, we're getting it.
In your face.
It was amazing, yeah. We had a lot of fun with that. We had some really great shows. We traveled out to Vegas to do a show, like that was amazing. And because I had been playing bass with them, another school friend of mine, Aaron Kennedy, AK, came up and he had asked me a couple times to be in his band Bicycle Annie, and I was just like, I'm too busy, like, I don't have time for this. And eventually I was just like, you know what, all right, cool, let's do it. So I joined Bicycle Annie with him and Jeff Steele, and our frontman at the time, his name was Mike, and it was a 90s cover band. And that's like my era, like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, like oh my gosh, yes. And to play all those songs, like we did some Blink-182 as well, and just like that was my music that I listened to, a lot of 90s stuff as well. And it was an amazing experience to play all the songs that I just loved, you know.
The songs of your adolescence,
yeah.
I mean, wow.
And the response was great. Everyone loves a good cover band.
Of course,
you know what I mean? I had actually, prior to that, seen a 90s cover band in Vegas, and this was like well before I had ever even like met AK, and I was like, that's cool, that'd be really cool to do, you know, you play all your favorite music, songs that everybody knows, like that's awesome. It'd be cool to be in a 90s cover band. Fast forward 2 years, and I am.
Here you are. Dreams come true. It's just like putting that out there to the universe, and here it is.
It's all returned to you.
Right. Okay, so you're in Bicycle Annie, and what's next after that?
We had a really good run with that, but it came to the point where I was like, I need to make some money. So I eventually stepped back from the band and had to get a real job for a little while. Yeah. So we had been playing with Gonzalez for a little while. She moved out here from California and had been our front woman for the band for a little while, which completely changed our sound. We went from like a 90s cover band to like a 90s and 60s and 70s cover band. Like she took us places we never would have been able to go without her as a singer. Yeah. So that's how I met her. So we already knew each other at this time that like I had to get a real job and stuff. And we had been discussing starting another project. So we started trying to find like a guitar player. We were looking around for one for a little while, and you know, tried someone here and there, and eventually she had met Cooper and auditioned with him, and so once we had Cooper, we found our first drummer for Peach Street Revival, Rob Leibig, and that's how Peach Street Revival happened.
How it was hatched.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that, you know, we had met her at this show in Palisade, because she had given us her card, and we were like, all right, yeah.
Had you known anything about her before that? Okay.
No, never. Like she gave us her card that night, and then we met up and kind of talked about like what she was looking for in a group and what our needs were, because our front man had left us at that point. He had moved out to California to go be a hotshot weatherman. So
weatherman?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, he was great personality, like for TV. He was awesome. Yeah, so She had some big shoes to fill, and she exceeded that.
Stomped on those
By
shoes.
miles, yeah.
Yeah, wow. So what was it like when you first met Gonzalez? Like, what were your thoughts about her?
I was intimidated by
Were you?
her. Yeah, if we're being honest, yeah, completely intimidating, because it's like this chick, she's like big badass musician from California, like she's got albums, she's like, and her swag, like the way she dresses,
Right.
she's like super cool, and I was just like, wow, you know, and I mean, that first rehearsal, I mean, we had listened to her music, of course, and then that first rehearsal was just like, all right, you know, like we did some of her original songs as well. I think we did 2 or 3 of her originals and 2 or 3 covers for our first show. So we had this little set, and that's how we came to be Bicycle Annie featuring Gonzalez. And like I said, just like her range and her power and everything, like really expanded what we were able to do as a band that we couldn't have done Jefferson Airplane without her, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it worked out very well.
How did your fans respond to that?
She stole the show.
Really?
Are you kidding me? Yeah, she stole the show easily. Like, she is, even in Peach Street Revival, she's like the most powerful front woman that I have ever seen or performed with.
Yeah, agreed. Hands down. She just, her energy is just radiant. She's a true star.
And it's really inspired, I feel like, the rest of us, me in particular, to really like give it my all, because the way she just gives it on stage, like she puts on a performance, so it's like, well, I don't want to just be standing here, like.
And you don't, though. I mean, I've seen you perform several times, and like I'm like, she's like playing the bass and just like moving around, dancing. I mean, that's skills. But you put on a great performance too, Jordan. So don't sell yourself short.
Well,
there.
I mean, it wouldn't be without the inspiration that she's given me, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So she joined Bicycle Annie, and then eventually you were like, I need to get a real job. Took a break for a while, and then was Bicycle Annie still performing? Just without? Were you still performing with Bicycle Annie at that time?
No, they brought on a couple new bass players. Eventually, Bicycle Annie is now Union of None.
Oh, okay.
With Jeff Steele, Drew Fields, and Peter Rosenthal, and they are just a great group of guys. And they've expanded their stuff too. It's not just 90s anymore. They do some great 80s stuff, some super great modern stuff.
Do we need to go back?
Yeah. Pause.
We got it on there.
Okay.
Oh,
cool. He's a killer. Okay. So anyways, so Union of None. So they sort of morphed into Union of None. You went out, got a real job, and then at what point? Like, were you and Gonzalez? Were you guys like still pretty connected at that point?
Yeah. We worked together for a little while, and then eventually we were just like, man, we need music again. So that's when we started looking for some musicians to start this new project. We didn't have a name, or I don't remember exactly when the name came about. I think it was after we had all of the players. We were going through a couple different options, but eventually we settled on Peach Street Revival. You know, like true to our roots, like Peach Street and Palisade is where all the fun stuff happens. So we settled on Peach Street Revival just to kind of pay tribute to where we're all currently located.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just evolved from that. Yeah, and you guys do a lot of your own material.
We do now. So when we first started playing, it was a lot of covers just so we could get out there and start building a fan base and performing and making our name known and everything. And we started writing our own originals, and we definitely write a lot more now than we did back in the day, because now we have our set list to fall back on. We can do a 3-hour show, so we have time to really focus on our original material. And we've recorded 1 studio EP so far that was gonna be released as an EP, but is now being released as singles because pandemic.
Right.
You know, so it's kept us busy recording music videos for every single song on the EP. So that is what drove us through the pandemic, when a lot of people were just like stepping back, like we'll get to it when everything's over, and we've seen some people kind of fall off the map that way. So I'm really glad that we all agreed to take this approach, and it kept us busy, it kept the momentum, and it kept me sane.
Yes.
It kept us sane.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you guys were really grinding. I mean, how many videos have you guys released in the last year? 4. Which is no small thing. I mean, it's not like you guys have this production crew that's coming in and making your videos for you. Like, you guys are doing it from the ground up.
That's another one of Gonzalez's hidden talents, is she has filmed and edited our music videos for us. And so without her, we probably wouldn't have all of that. So she's really been the catalyst in making sure that we stay busy and making sure that we have good quality product to put out.
Definitely. Yeah, you guys are crushing it, just doing a great job with all that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so, I mean, I think the pandemic, from musicians I've talked to, like it has been very challenging because you're not on stage, you're not just really feeding that part of your spirit that just thrives off entertaining people and exchanging that energy. But for you guys to keep playing, keep making music. But what has that been like for you? I mean, what like I guess what part of kind of missing the stage, like how has that played a role in your life?
The interaction is what really makes or breaks a show, being able to communicate with your audience and give them energy and they give you energy back. So when you're sitting in here doing live streams and, releasing music videos, you can interact on a certain level, but of course there's no face-to-face interaction, and that has been really soul-crushing in a way, just because that's a musician's bread and butter is live performance, and to not have that was sad, for sure, and definitely something that I never expected to happen, but the momentum that we carried in making the music videos and releasing them, and the response that we got online, and being able to communicate with people over platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, like our main social medias, has been helpful in helping us maintain that connection with our audience and make sure that we're still available to them and to bring a little bit of light in these dark times.
Right. And now you're starting to get back out in the world. You guys have been performing. How's that been?
Post-pandemic is kind of surreal because you went an entire year without live music, so to get back on the stage, it's kind of like you're doing it for the first time all over again. Like the nerves were, for me personally, I was pretty nervous, just because it hadn't been on the stage, like I said, in like a year. So to get back on the stage, but the crowd needed it just as much as we did.
Absolutely.
So to be that vein, the outlet, for people to like all the pandemic stress and everything that's built on everybody's shoulders, just to release it and just enjoy yourself at a live show. It was amazing to provide that, and then to have that experience of receiving the energy from the crowd, because it was just like a wall of energy.
It's just sort of like everybody's been in this desert and now all of a sudden here's a waterfall and it's like, let's dive right in.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Get in there. So nerves, do you get nervous when you play?
I do. Mostly in the sense that, like you said earlier, like jumping around and dancing and giving a performance, I just always have in the back of my mind to not be like too sedentary, like definitely just keep the momentum, keep it moving, perform, while at the same time like playing the right notes, and just making sure you're engaging with the crowd as well and not being a shoegazer and interacting with your bandmates, and there's a lot going. It's not, just like shutting everything off and playing music. It's a lot of logistics as well. And maybe nerves isn't the best word so much for performing in general, but it's a lot to keep in the back of your mind as you're thinking
all these different things, and like you said, and then still trying to just play and be in kind of that part of your brain that just interacts with the music.
But there are those moments, there's those moments where everything does kind of fall away for a second. You get lost in the song, you get lost in the music, you get lost in the crowd, like there are those moments where everything kind of just melts away, and you do have to come back to reality, like, okay, what's the next song?
Wait a minute, where am I?
But if it weren't for those moments where everything just kind of disappears and it's nothing but you and the music, then it wouldn't be worth doing.
No, then it would just be a job. It wouldn't be this like thing that just feeds your soul, really. Yeah. Do you do anything before a show to prepare and just kind of like get yourself in that flowy state?
I eat.
Okay. What do you eat? What's your pre-show meal?
Oh man, fast food. I know it's like
greasy.
Yeah, right before you basically do a 2-hour workout. It's not the best idea. But yeah, I always believe in performing on a full stomach, and I drink lots and lots of Dr. Pepper.
Nice.
That's my ritual. That's what I'm usually drinking at a show.
Nice. You're all like sugared up on Dr. Pepper and.
Yeah.
Excellent. So as far as the songwriting process goes, are you part of that process, or what part do you play in that process?
We all are, we all have ideas, so it's not, sometimes we sit down and we're like, okay, let's make a song, but for the most part, our process has been like Cooper showing up, he's like, hey guys, I got this new riff, and then like I'll hop on it, and then Sophia will hop on it, and Gonzalez will like hum a melody, and then she'll write the words over the melody that she, you know, came up with, and it'll kind of happen like one of us starts out with something and the rest of us just kind of fill it in.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of synergy going on in that moment. It's
Yeah.
not like you're like, okay, here's what we're gonna do this. It's just sort of like, it just flows, it's very
It's like,
organic.
here's the formula,
Right.
you do this, you do this. Yeah, it's never really worked that way for
Yeah.
us. It's always been all of us contributing and not so much like, okay, you know, like you gotta follow the recipe to make a song.
Right, yeah, 'cause that's just boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys, I mean, obviously, like, something's working because you guys write great songs, and
Thank you.
it never sounds formulaic. It's never like, oh, well, this is just like everything else you're hearing out there. No, it's really unique, for sure.
And I feel like no two of our songs sound the same too, which has been
Yeah.
really cool. Like,
Yeah.
they're all so different.
They really
and
are.
eclectic, which is really cool to have that diversity where we can like be like super metal for one of them, and then we can write this really pretty, like really like beautiful little melody.
And then you have this just like driving really hard, like rocking. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As far as lyrics go, who writes the lyrics?
That would be Gonzalez.
Okay, all of them? Do you guys ever pitch in and sort of just like...
Sophia came to us with a song one time. She posted it on Facebook or something. She was just messing around with guitar, and we're like, that's really cool, we're gonna do it. So she actually has her own original song that she sings that we perform.
I've heard, and she does a great job.
Oh my god,
It's
and while
fun.
she's drumming too. She's
I know,
like, I can hardly sing and play the bass at the same time. She's using all her limbs.
Right, and then singing, you guys amaze me all the way around.
Yeah, I don't know how she does it, but yeah, she wrote this awesome song called I'll Fight Back, so we've introduced that into our set list as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you've been singing, like I don't remember you singing in some of the earlier shows that I saw, but lately you've been singing. Have you always sung?
Here and there,
Okay.
mostly like background vocals and stuff,
Yeah.
but on our most recent songs, Gonzalez had these ideas for like the background vocals and stuff, and you know, it is really powerful for everybody to be singing at the same time too.
Absolutely.
So she kind of was like, okay, sing!
Right, here it is.
Yeah.
Sing, yeah, how cool.
Yeah.
So the music writing process, you guys are all sort of part of that. When you approach music, Jordan, do you, I guess, like, are you more kind of just like right-brained and sort of just like play by ear, free-flowing in your approach? Or, I mean, you also have obviously a very significant music theory background. Like, how do you integrate the two, or do you? Like, is it one-sided or more integrated?
If I integrate it, it's mostly subconsciously. Like for Peachtree Revival, for example, I mostly just try to pick up on what Cooper's doing by ear, and sometimes I'll hear like a little melody or like a counter bass line or something like that, but I kind of just try to fit in where it sounds best, or if we're stuck on a part, you know, like work my way through it like on a bass riff or something like that. But I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm like, okay, we're in the key of A major,
Right.
and I need to make sure that I play a C sharp. You know,
Right,
like,
right.
yeah.
So it's very intuitive. It's just sort of like, this is what sounds right, this is what feels right. I'm going with it from there. Yeah.
I mean, knowing like the modes, like major minor scales and this
Of
and that
course,
has
yeah.
really helped, especially writing your own original music.
Right.
Because it's one thing when you're learning covers and someone's done all the work for you, and all
Right.
you have to do is play the same notes. But when you are playing your own music, it does help to have that music theory background and know, like, okay, we're in this key, and these are the notes that work for that, so these are the notes that I can play. You know, it definitely helps, but it's not something that I necessarily think about or like.
Right, you're not sitting down and like structuring it and writing out all the
Yeah.
notes and everything, yeah. What about for the music videos? Did you guys all participate in, like, is that mostly Gonzalez's sort of vision of it, or are you guys all kind of like adding ideas to the video?
Yeah, we've all contributed like scenes and stuff here and there, like, you know, Cooper will be like, hey, this might look cool, or, you know, Sophia, and then we've all filmed a little bit as well, so each one of us has usually filmed like certain scenes, you know, that we're not all in, for
Right.
example. But yeah, so it's nice to be part of that process where everyone's contributing, and it's not like just one person filming or one person setting the scene or anything like that. It's been nice to, you know, all of us contribute, but Gonzalez does do a lot of the footwork.
Sure.
She definitely has a lot of grand visions for the stuff that we do, so, you know, we fill in here and there, but man, she comes to the table with some awesome stuff, so
Cool.
it's nice to be able to use her discretion and
Right.
build around that.
Right, right. So there's this scene in the last video that you guys did, and you just have this like super badass moment where, well, first off, for anybody who hasn't seen it, like your hair's in this like awesome mohawk, and there's so many great shots just like catching the light just right. But then there's this scene where I think you like jump off a chair and you like kick it, How did that go down? Like, was that scripted? Was that, I mean, how did that happen?
It was one of those last minute things where
Mhm.
we were like, I already knew I wanted to do a scene in the theater. I knew I wanted to do it, but they had the chairs there, and I was like, you know what would be cool? Because it was over a pretty hard part. Like, that song is kind of rocking, you know? So I was just like, with the mohawk and everything, punk rock just got the best of me. I was like, I'm going to kick this chair, film it.
It's so badass. Anyone who hasn't seen it, you must watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. And they were okay with you, like, kicking down their chairs in the theater? And did you ask permission first, or? Good girl.
No, we did not ask
Yeah.
permission, but no one said anything yet.
Right.
So, Mesa Theater, if you're watching, thank you for your chair.
Ask forgiveness, not permission, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, something
It works
like that.
most of the time.
Right. Yeah, you guys as a band, I mean, you guys you put together a really nice product all the way around, and it seems like part of that is just you guys do have really great chemistry, and everybody just kind of brings something a little bit different to the table.
Yeah.
So one question that I was thinking about wanting to ask you is, you know, aside from your role as like playing the bass in the band, what other role do you play? You know, I mean, assuming that kind of a band is sort of like a family, you know, and in a family everyone kind of has their own little role that they play. What's your role in the band?
That's a tough one. Behind the scenes, Gonzalez does a lot of our booking, but sometimes like I'll jump in on that too. Like, so sometimes I'll make the phone call, get the contact information, she sends the email, I'll make the contract, she sends the contract. She does a lot of our booking stuff, but I'll pitch in here and there because it is a lot. You know, when you're a DIY indie band, you don't have someone doing this for you. It's all in your hands to make sure that, you know, when you're booking shows, all the contract demands are met, you know, like adequate power and stupid stuff like that, you know, that most people wouldn't think to put in writing, but sometimes you have to because apparently it's not common knowledge.
What about kind of like in your relationship with her? I mean, because you guys have great chemistry, you seem to have just this really nice balance with each other. What do you feel like kind of like you give to her, you know, kind of just to enrich her life, or just sort of like bring to the balance of things?
I think in general, I have only ever learned from her. She has done this, you know, a lot more than I have. She artist out in LA, you know, that's kind of a big deal, and I've always just looked up to her for the things that she's done and tried to absorb as much as possible, and I'm, you know, forever grateful for the things that she has taught me, and always just trying to learn from her and stuff. So I don't know what I necessarily contribute, but I'm always trying to support like what we have going on in a way. So, you know, making sure that if I'm available to make a phone call to a certain venue or whatever and get booking information or whatever, like I'm always just trying to help in any way that I can, you know, like where I need to, because it's a lot. She does a lot for the band. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all just about like making sure that I can help wherever is needed.
Definitely, yeah. You just kind of, you pick up the slack where you need to. And obviously you have a lot of intuition to really just recognize like what needs to be done and where it needs to be, and I'm sure that's a huge gift.
I hope so.
For her, yeah, just to be like, all right, I can always rely on Jordan to do this part. Yeah.
Just trying to make sure everything's like, we need this many cables, you know what I mean? Like it's down to the fine detail of shows that I really like to make sure everything is where it needs to be and that we have everything that we need. And,
yeah. What's the best part about being a rock star?
Best part about being a rock star is being able to cut loose and release all the energy. You know, for a lot of people it's different things, but for me, you know, like it is a grind. Like I have a lot going on, and it's nice to get on stage and just like unleash it all. Like it's a huge, like, I don't know, it just balances me out pretty well to be able to just release and have that outlet for everything that may be sitting on my shoulders at any particular time.
Sure.
You know, with the 9 to 5 and
Yeah.
DIY everything and, you know, life's stressors in general.
Right.
It's nice to just let it all go.
Yeah. It's
through a guitar.
Through a guitar, that's right. I mean, and that theme kind of from when you were a kid. But I mean, music has always sort of been that for you, and now you're living this dream of being a rock star, and it still just kind of has that same really wonderful purpose in your life of just like this release, this fun, this just thing that feeds you like nothing else does. Yeah.
Definitely.
How beautiful. Yeah. What about life? What about life outside of music, Jordan? I mean, you said 9 to 5. You're involved in the cannabis industry.
I am.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the general manager of a dispensary, and I've been doing that for a couple of years now. And it's a lot of work. You know, it is truly like, well, not 9 to 5 so much as it is 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. But it's rewarding in its own way. You know, and like I said earlier, I needed a real job, so it was nice to get into an industry where I'm being stimulated like intellectually and at the end of the day being able to help people, it's nice to provide. It's different than other retail jobs that I've worked for sure. You hardly have that guy coming in because everyone knows they're gonna leave and they're gonna be chill
and you never meet grumpy people in the weed store.
It's nice. And that's actually where Gonzalez and I worked together. She actually hired me. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was my boss for a little while.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah. And you stuck with it. Do you plan on staying with it? Like, is that kind of where you see yourself in the future?
I mean, I enjoy this industry more than anything that I've ever done, and I've worked a lot of different industries, like regular retail. I've done the food thing for a little while, and this has just been the most intellectually stimulating, and it definitely keeps me busy, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Very cool. What else? What do you do for fun when you're not making music or working?
I love naps. I love naps, but I mean, I do a lot for the bands that I'm in currently, but it's nice to sit down and make my own music. I've been into electronic music production since college a little bit because they had this awesome computer lab and GarageBand and everything, so I was like, wow, this is a lot of fun to like make something different than everything that I've ever done.
Totally
so
different.
Recently I've been doing that a little bit as well.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So do you just do that on your own? Just kind of make your own stuff?
Yeah, just for fun. Yeah. Eventually it'd be nice to do something with that. There are plans to eventually, hopefully be a solo EDM artist but for now it's kind of just for me, and I'm really enjoying like the live music. There's nothing that's ever gonna beat like playing live music with other people. Like that's so far on the back burner. Like my priority is always gonna be playing live music in a band. So
you guys have a new sort of project in the works that's been in the works for a while and finally coming into the light.
Yeah, our previous attempts to bring this into the public light were thwarted by the pandemic, with closures and capacity limits and everything. So we're finally doing our first show this month. Yay. We have an all-star lineup. We have Eric Gross on keys, Nathan Wilson on sax, Bryce McAvoy on vocals, Gonzalez on vocals, and Sophia's on drums, and I'm on bass. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's going to be so amazing to finally be able to perform with this group when we've been trying to for so long.
Yeah. So tell us where and when and what's it going to be like?
We are performing at Charlie Dwellington's for the first Sunday brunch with the Sunday Morning All-Stars. They have a special brunch menu. We're going to have mimosas. You get a mimosa with your ticket purchase. There's still capacity limits, but tickets are available as of right now. And hopefully, we'll sell it out at the door. And it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sunday, April 25th at Charlie Dwellington's.
And you guys will be doing jazz.
Yes, jazz and soul, and it's going to be a lot different than what you're used to seeing Sophia Gonzalez and I do, but we're very excited to finally bring this into the world.
Absolutely, and how cool just to kind of have that balance between just like this hard-hitting like rock stuff and then just this very different, because jazz is just a very different energy. Yeah,
it has been a bit of a challenge because my previous jazz experience in middle school, high school, and college were all done on saxophone or percussion, and so I've never played the bass full-time, with the exception of one semester in jazz combo in college. I've never played the bass full-time for like what we're doing right now. So it's been a bit of a challenge, and that's where my music theory background has really saved me in several instances, but it's been nice to have a new challenge and to experiment with a genre that I haven't had much experience with in the last 6 or so years of my life.
Yeah. Do you miss playing saxophone in jazz bands?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in a big band setting when you got like the brass behind you and you got a saxophone section of 5. It's a completely different animal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love what we're doing, but eventually, if we could turn it into a big band performance, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
There's nothing like big band jazz, just the sound and the energy that goes along with that.
Yeah, your ears bleeding from the trumpet section at the end of the night. It's awesome. Nothing beats it.
Right. Well, cool. Well, that's a great new endeavor. Absolutely.
Yeah,
What's next? I mean, after that, do you guys have plans sort of beyond that, or are things kind of going to be status quo for a while?
We're looking to tour, so we have some dates this summer in Wyoming and South Dakota, which is going to be a new market for us. We've never ventured as Peachtree Revival out of Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We're looking at some other dates, fingers crossed, hopefully in like Texas. We'd love to get out to other states like Arizona, maybe Nevada. Lots of places we'd love to get out to.
Take your magic to the Wild West.
It'd be cool to do like a coast tour, Oregon, Washington, California.
That'd be amazing.
Eventually, love to get out there.
So touring, that's coming up. Because you guys really haven't, I mean, you've done a lot of local Colorado stuff, but really haven't done any touring.
Well, right when we were getting ready, we had our EP ready. We were going to do our EP release, and you know, after you record an EP and you release it, you're going to tour with it. And then the pandemic hit, so all of our plans to get out and tour, you know, it wasn't an option for us at the time.
Definitely, but this will be a new animal, just being on the road and doing your thing. Will you guys have like a van, or will you guys just kind of do it in cars? Or
at the moment, we plan to travel with a couple of vehicles, but it would be nice. We've been talking. It'd be cool to have like a cargo van or something like that, something that could pull a trailer maybe. But right now we're just doing the whole several car thing.
Yeah. Nice. Well, anything else you want the world to know about you, Jordan?
About me?
Yeah.
Not necessarily about me, but in general, I always strive to be a light and to be the change that you wish to see, and to always treat people with kindness, and to really like let love in, especially in these dark times. It just seems like mostly people have been at it with each other lately, and that's never been my style. And I just always want to be an inspiration to people to treat others with kindness and be better and do better, so that the world can ultimately improve. Yeah,
and you are definitely a light, and how great that you have a platform, you know. And I mean, when you guys perform, like, you guys are all just lights in your own ways, you know, and you bring that to the world, and I think that's such a great just opportunity, and you know, to just bring that, even though you're not really speaking and saying like, be good to each other, you know. I mean, just the energy that you're putting out there is...
Well, it's all in good company, too. I mean, Cooper and Sophia and Gonzalez are all just awesome humans in general, like, so kind and, like, loving and nurturing to, you know, the rest of us. Like, it's just, it helps to surround yourself with good people, and they are awesome. Yeah. Like, I couldn't have ended up with better bandmates than what I have right now.
How wonderful. Life just brought you guys all together.
And, it did.
And there's just such great energy and balance. I mean, you guys all just kind of have your own special kind of style. We were talking about that earlier, you know, just how, you know, you guys, like, you know, you're this very kind of like punk vibe, you know, and Gonzalez has this very just like hippie vibe, you know, and Cooper's got sort of this like grunge vibe, and Sophia's kind of just like a glamour girl almost, and it's just cool. I mean, is that planned? Like, do you guys sort of... Or is it just sort of like, this is who we are, this is what we bring to the stage?
Yeah, that's us organically.
Cool.
So I think it helps Peachtree Revival be who we are, because we are all so different. We all bring our own thing to the table. Yeah. We all have different musical backgrounds, so to take that and combine it all into one, I think is it's what made our original music so eclectic. It's what makes our performances, you know, the way that they are, and I think it's what helps us get along so well is just the fact that, you know, we all come from different walks of life, but we come together for this project.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, you know, just kind of that like be the light mantra, and you guys are all lights in your own way, and just together you guys just shine super bright. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, well, you guys are wonderful too.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for this. This was
awesome.
Great opportunity to just share you with the world. I'm excited for the world to see this and learn more about you and who you are.
Well, thank you for your interest in me and who I am.
Of course. So, cool. Well, we will, maybe there will be a part 2 someday.
Ooh. All right. The
Like it.
explicit version.
The explicit version is Jordan on the hot seat.
Yeah. Hot takes.
Hot takes. That's
Hot
right.
Cheetos are terrible. That's my hot take.
That's the hot take, Jordan. Any other just off the cuff editorials you'd like to make at the end here?
I couldn't really get into Parks and Rec.
Okay.
And it's all right, but it's not like it'll never be The Office.
No, I don't think anything ever really can.
No, so whenever The Office got taken off of Netflix, everyone was like, you should watch Parks and Rec. I did, and it wasn't that great.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, from the mouth of Jordan Will. Parks and Rec. One thumb down.
It was all right. It's like,
Thumb sideways.
yeah, we're about here with
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Parks and Rec, hot Cheetos, anything else you would advise the world not to consume in whatever way?
Diet soda.
Diet soda. That stuff will kill you.
It will.
Yeah.
Aspartame is bad for you.
Yeah.
Soda's bad for you, but
right.
aspartame is worse.
I agree. Sugar's the devil, but aspartame is like the devil's like evil stepdad.
The devil's devil, yeah.
The devil's devil, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, thanks, Jordan. Be
Thank
well.
you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes.